Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today? This is Els coming to you from Beamish Crafty Corner. And today I want to share kind of a quick little journal stuffer, note card, throw it in your purse, quick gift kind of thing. I was recently in an auction over with Rosie Posey over at Rosie's Craft Shack. If you guys have not checked out her channel, please do so. I will put a link in the description below. She basically sells stuff. She has a channel where she creates, but she does have some monthly kits, fabric bundles, those types of things. And she makes crafts that she sells. And I was in her auction, and one of the things that she makes are these little cards. And I ordered a set of them from her. They were very inexpensive. I wanted to see how they would look in a journal that I'm currently working on. So I ordered them. I thought they would be perfect. It's actually a wedding album, and I thought this was just the perfect image to add to the wedding album. So I ordered this set, and I got them, and I kind of started taking a look at them and realized that they're absolutely beautiful, but they could go a step further. So I messed around with it a little bit, and I came up with this idea. And this is basically the same thing. I just added some tags to it here and here, and some pockets and tags on the inside that are not on the original piece. But after really looking at this, I decided this is very awkward. It opens backwards. So I wanted to redo this for use in my journals, and I decided I'm going to show you guys how to do this and walk you through it, just so we're all on the same page, okay? So I started out by making a whole bunch of blanks. So you're going to need some cardstock, a ruler, a corner rounder, a pair of scissors. You're going to be needing your scoring tool, a scoreboard, and a cutter. So the first thing you're going to do is, if this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, you're simply going to cut it down to 8.5 by 10.5. So you're going to cut a ½ inch off the long end. Then you're going to score this on your scoreboard at every 3.5 inches. Then fold it, making sure that you keep your edges all straight, and just come in with your corner rounder and do all 4 corners. Now you have the basis for this. With the top fold towards your left and the bottom fold towards your right, you now have this in the right position. Because we're going to put the pocket going this way so that the item opens this way, and therefore opens what you would normally expect. So, that being said, I noticed that on the original pieces, she had used a sheet of cardstock that was printed. So I decided I'm going to do that too. Okay, so this sheet of cardstock actually came out of the Craftsmart. This is the Hot Buy at Michael's. It's the Pinkaboo. If you do not have this yet, it will be coming. I've spoken to the district manager here, and they assure me that this is the book for this season, so it's going to be in all the stores nationwide. Just when it gets there is something entirely different. So I cut this down to 10.5, and I kind of fussy cut it a little bit because I wanted this image, you know, so I cut from the top and the bottom and both sides in order to get this down to the 10.5. And then I went ahead and I cut off this corner piece, and I placed the corner in here so that it went just underneath the flap. And that left me a little bit of white at the top, so I just trimmed that off. Right here, that's that little trim. And I just trimmed this little piece right off the top. It's like, oh, let's see. It is just a hair shy of 1/4 of an inch, which means this piece is just about 1/4 of an inch underneath. Okay? So this is going to be created into my first pocket. And then I'm going to work on the inside as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want this pocket to have a little bit of room in it. Not much, but a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put a gusset on this side. So I've cut a piece of paper down. And you can do this by hand. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just like to use the scoreboard so that I know I get a nice perfect line. This is a 1-inch piece. I'm going to score it at the 1/2 inch mark, fold it. I'm going to use my bone folder. I'm going to score this, fold it, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to just really press this fold. Now, because I am using this as a pocket, I do not want to tape this in. But I do want it to be instantly adhered. So I am going to use some of this 1/8 inch red line tape. And I'm simply going to place a piece as close to the fold as I can. And once I get this on here, I'll show you that. So there it is. You can see the 2 lines on either side of the fold mark. I'm going to take my bone folder and press this down. And then take my scissors. I'm going to angle in just a little bit on both corners. Okay? Now I'm going to use my glue to actually adhere this. And I'm going to start by putting it down this way. Okay? So I'm going to put some glue on this side. I'm going to fold back one corner of my red line tape. So that that's on the outside. And then I'm going to take my piece, holding on to the top, and I'm going to line this fold up along the edge, meeting the other fold. Then I'm going to use that little piece of red line tape that I've already exposed to adhere that and hold it in place. Put my finger in there, and I'm going to pull this out. Now that is adhered, but it's going to give me a little bit of time. Now we're going to do the same thing on the top. We're going to come in, add our glue, expose this portion of the tape about 1 inch, and I'm going to remove that. Now at this point, I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to start lining it up down here away from my exposed tape so that I know it's where I want it to be. All right. Now once I have that down, then I can go ahead and remove my tape here. And I don't want to gusset the bottom, so at this point I can just glue that straight across. And it just takes a small little bead of glue towards the bottom, just like that. We'll press that together, and we've created our first pocket. We don't even have to really decorate because we have the paper. The paper has done the decorating for us. So now that I've gotten that done, the next part of this would be to work the inside. Now I thought, you know, this is really sweet and really cute, but if I put paper in here, I could make this an entire section unto itself within one of my journals. So I am going to be putting some paper in here. I'm thinking I'm going to put maybe some lined paper. Maybe I will put in here something dyed. I'm not sure yet, but I am going to take a look at a couple of different ideas. So I'm going to get those together, and then we're going to get back together and finish this, okay? All right, so hold on, and I'll be right back. All right, so I decided to go with some of my hand-dyed paper here in a beautiful pink marble effect that I did, because it just seems to really match this perfectly. It has the right tone to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting this down, and in order for me to do that, first, this sheet is 8.5 inches by 14. Now I dye these larger pieces for this type of a project because I don't want to waste paper. And if I had to cut the sheets that I need for this out of an 8.5 by 11, I'd end up using 4 pieces of paper. And I don't want to do that. So we know this is not 8.5 inches anymore because we cut that sliver off. So this is about 8.25. So we're going to cut these to 8 inches tall. And we have 7 inches across. We want about 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to go 6.5 inches this way, and then 8 inches that way. So let's do our 6.5 first. So the first thing we're going to do is pull up our cutter and lock it into place. That way we don't have it falling on us. We're going to put our paper on the 6.5 inch mark, making sure that we have it even. We're going to make our first cut. Then we're going to come back and we're going to do our second cut, again at 6.5 inches. And I'm using 2 sheets here because that would be plenty to put into this little binder. You can, of course, put in more if you want to use this as a standalone piece. But since I plan on putting it inside of an actual journal, 8 sheets is enough. So using 2 pieces of paper that I'm going to get 2 sections out of. Works for me. Now, this had to be 8 inches. So again, I'm going to pull up my cutter, lock it into place. I'm going to place all 4 sheets, making sure they're stacked neatly on the 8-inch line. Bring down my bar, and I'm going to cut. So out of my 2 pieces of 8.5 by 14, this is the only waste I have. And I can use these to make paper ruffles, so I'm not worried about it. It's not waste. Okay. We're done with the cutter. Now, normally I'm real big on, making it neat and clean and using your bone folder, but this is copyweight paper, and I don't want to break the fiber down any more than I have to. I've already dyed this paper, so it's been soaked in water. It's thin paper to begin with. So I'm just going to kind of hand press this just to get that crease in the middle. And now I have the paper that I want. Now, don't worry too much about imperfections in your paper, because you're going to have those. This is hand-dyed paper. So let's bring our folio back in. Let's take our pages. We're going to place them right here. We're going to even that up, make sure that we're square just where we want it to be. And then we're going to pin this, clip this all together, okay? Let's get rid of all of this. And let's take a look. Now, I have beautiful paper here. So do I want to disturb this beautiful paper, or do I just want to leave this the way it is? That's kind of a question. Now, I could just put a strip down and make like a journaling tuck, like a little tuck spot in here. Or I can find something that mirrors the front. And I think this might be good. So what I'm going to do is get my cutter out. And I'm going to trim this end off, this side of this card, pretty close to the design itself. Now I want to see where that sits. I like it. And I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut this at 3.5 because that is the width that we have here. So that's going to fit. And then I'm going to cut this across. Now I don't want to just lop this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut from this point here to like this point here. Okay? I'm going to put that in my diagonal, being mindful to keep an eye on my design. And I'm going to cut that off. And I need to take just a hair more. So I'm going to shave a little bit on this side. Let's see. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to come in, a little bit of glue. And I'm now going to put this in this corner. Yes, I'm covering up these pretty flowers, but I'm covering it up by mimicking the front cover. Time to fill the glue bottle. Now I'm not going up there because I don't want to block the pocket in any way. So I'm simply going to take this and place it right here on matching up my edge and my bottom. and just hold it for a second. This is art glitter glue, so, you know, it's dry. So we're just going to go ahead and put that right there. And that actually becomes sort of the perfect spot for this little journal card that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim this down on the sides. Just a hair. We're going to balance it out. So that it's even on all sides. And I'm actually doing that by taking 1/4 of an inch off all the way around. And it fits perfect in our pocket. Now we want to add a little something up here just because we want it to look pretty. So, oh, this would be perfect. So I'm going to do a little fussy cut. I don't fussy cut a lot. If I could, I would probably send all of my fussy cutting over to One-Legged Witchy Woman because she thinks it's fun. Something wrong with her. So all I'm going to do is just kind of fussy cut this out. There's a faint white line. I'm trying to kind of stick to that faint white line on there. Y'all will see in a minute why I don't do fussy cut. And it's because I'm really bad at it. People tell me all the time, well, don't move the scissors. Move the piece. Yeah, no. This is as good as it gets, guys. I don't think I've ever actually cut anything out live on a camera before. Now you can all see how bad I am. Don't judge me. Oh, that didn't come out too bad. So now I'm going to glue this down, and this kind of becomes almost a book plate in here where they can put their name or whatever they want. Just going to line that up, place it in there. All right. So we got the front cover handled. We have a pocket, which we're going to make a card to go in. We get rid of some of these tiny scraps. Come here, you. Okay. Now our offcuts, just putting those to the side. All right, now we still have all of this stuff over here to play with, so we're gonna play with it. So now we're gonna do the back. Now I don't particularly like this. I think that this looks just kind of bleh. So there's a couple of things that we can do. Man, how did I forget that? I didn't get this one cut. Now, in this paper pack, there are larger cut-aparts. So some of them can be used to make corner pockets. Let's take a look at some of those real quick. So these are them. I don't really see anything maybe other than this that I could use as a pocket, but I honestly have a whole sheet of this in this book. So let's go and find that. Here's another set of cut parts. We're going to use a piece of this actually, just not right at the moment. So let's go find that spider web paper. Ooh. I think I'm going to use the pumpkin. So let me take a piece of this out. That's the spider web, but not finding it at the moment. All right. So I think we're going to use a piece of this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be cutting this piece down. Obviously, too big for that cutter. We're going to get the big one out. And what I want to cut is a strip here that's about 3 1/4, give or take. All right, we got everything together. Everything's in its spot. So it's 3.5 inches across. So let's cut the 3.5, and then if we need to, we can always shave some later. So I'm going to get this in place. And I'm going to cut a strip. Okay. Now we're going to use this to make pocket. And we want our pocket to go this way. So pretty simple. We are going to put this in our cutter at that angle. And we're going to decide how deep we want our pocket to be. And I'm thinking about there. So I'm just going to cut that off. And this is all ready to be glued in. And I'm going to be using some pearlescence ink. It's not gold per se, but it just has a little bit of a shimmer to it. So I'm going to put my page in here so that I can protect this, and we're just going to go in and I'm just going to ink this edge. And that's only because this is really white cardstock. It's actually whiter than that. And right down the edge here. Now, if you're like me and you do this and you get those little like semicircle marks on your inking, just go over it with another light coat and it kind of rubs those out. I mean, it doesn't get rid of them, but it certainly makes them look a little better. So I use the pearlescence because it has a bit of a shimmer to it, and I like that. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a shimmer in it. Now, we're going to glue this up. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can mount the piece on a mat first, and then you can put it on. Or you can do it this way, where you actually put your mat down first. And then come in and cover it. So I'm going to put my mat down first. And I want that 1/8 of an inch all the way around, nice and even. Then I'm going to come back in with my top. Okay. And I'm going to be real careful to line up the top, because once I line up the top, the rest of this will fall into place. Okay, so now we have decorated the front by simply folding the paper over, giving ourselves that 1/4 of an inch and creating a pocket up here. We've rounded our corners. We've come in, we've added a little nameplate here, pocket with a little journaling card right here. We've put in some pages that can be written upon, and there's actually 16 pages in here that can be written on. So then we put in a little corner pocket down here. Okay. We just do it like that. And then we left this space, and we're gonna work on that. And then on the back, we simply put a mat of the little white and pink skulls, and then another piece of that pumpkin paper. So we're gonna come in here and work on the inside for a moment. Now we could use this as a journaling card, and I think that's a pretty good idea. So we're just gonna put the trick or treat in there. And then we want to put something kind of neat up in the top here. And I like the little Scalita, but I don't like everything around it. So once again, I'm going to fussy cut. Now this one should be a little bit easier for me. I'm always better on out angles than in angles. We're going to cut that. We're going to cut off here. I'm going to come back in, go back out, a little more in, a little more out, a little more in, a little more out. Yeah, I never even liked fussy cutting when I was a kid. You know, where you had to cut out stuff to glue down on worksheets. Yeah, I just cut them in big circles and slapped them on there. Teachers always told my mother that I lacked ambition. Eventually, my mother just went, no, she just lacks the ability to deal with tedious crap. That was really my problem. I did not like tediousness. There we go. So, now that I've cut that out, we're going to use one of my favorite toys. This is a Xyron. This is the mini 1.5 inch. And my skull just fits. So I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to pull on the tab at the bottom and rip that off. I'm going to use my bone folder just to make sure that it's all adhered well. Now, if you don't have a Xyron, you've never seen a Xyron, you don't know what a Xyron is, let me tell you what it is. It is this really cool little device that makes a sticker out of anything. And what you do is you ball this up and you tap at your sticker, and any of those little loose pieces are going to come off. So you don't have stickies all over your stuff. Okay? Except it's attached to you. All right, so I'm going to pick this up. And I'm going to take my little sugar skull head, and I'm going to put it right there. I've turned it into a sticker. It's completely glued down all the way around. You get my little piece here and just touch it a little more just to make sure that I got it all. All right, so we do have a couple of things left to do to finish this up. One would be to make the tag that goes in here, and the second part would be to make a pocket or something if we wanted to add a pocket to the back. I'm kind of happy with the way the back is, so I'm not going to be adding one there. And I have a pocket inside the back cover with a tuck spot for journaling. I have 16 pages to journal on, plus I have a card up in front that's lined so I can journal here or on the back of the card, either one. So I don't really want another journal space there. But I do have this pocket that needs to be addressed. And so for this pocket, because it goes all the way to the bottom, I need my tag to be probably about 3/4 of an inch less than the length here, because remember, we are glued at the bottom. So I've got the pink paper that we use to make the mat on the back. And to add that in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a tag that is about 3¼ inches wide. And then I'm just going to check my length by placing it in there. Okay? So we're just going to put it in, and I'm going to put it down as far as it will go. And see, it comes way too high to the top, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim a little bit off the bottom, just a hair. Like 1 row of skeletons. Bye-bye. Okay? And this is 3¼ and I'm going to move it over just 1 little notch to the 3⁻16. And I'm going to take that scant 1/16 of an inch off of there. Just gives me a little bit more room. Now I do have this little spooky piece, and I like this little spooky piece because it's cute, and I want to add it onto my tag. Problem is it's not really wide enough. So I have a couple of options here. I can angle my tag here and here at the top. I could put this all into a tag punch and see if I can get it to line up. But I'm going to I think I'm just going to do the shavy thing. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of this. Definitely time to fill the glue bottle. Place some glue on here. And then I'm going to take Mr. Spooky and I'm going to center it on here. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut a very small wedge from the top, and I'm kind of aiming towards that bottom. Now this never works for me, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's, you know, it's what everybody does. I'm going to line this up just like that. And I'm going to come over here and get my scissors. Watch, it'll make a liar out of me. It'll work once. Okay, so the last thing we have to address is the tag for the top here to put in. And then, of course, you know, if we want to put some blingy dingy or whatever on this, we're going to want to do that as well. So I went back through the cutouts that I had, and one of the ones that really struck me was this one right here. So what I did is I just kind of cut this down so I could get in here with a scalloped punch, and I used a scalloped punch to cut out that spider, and then I finished up this tag. So let me get the book out of the way, and we'll take a real quick look at this. So you remember we started with just this pink piece of paper with the little white skulls on it. See the little white skulls? Aren't they cute? So we did that, and we added a little spooky to the top of it. Then I cut it off, and it had this kind of casket look to it. Wasn't really what we were going for, but that's what we ended up with. And so I didn't like that line in between, so I put a little piece of this hem tape on here, and then I used, though it was left of that piece that I had, to put one here. So we used some Bog of Eternal Stench. We put a little bit there. That is the spider that we used our scalloped punch for, and we used our scallop scissors to pretty much give this bottom end here a little bit of a detail. Now we could come in with the corner rounder and just ever so slightly nip off that corner, just so we can kind of keep that round look going. Let's get the right one. There it is. Okay. And of course, you know, now this looks pointed, so we'll just kind of whip it out a little bit and just kind of round it. And that just gives us that curved look at the bottom. It's just going to make it a little easier to get it in the pocket as well. So that's kind of our tag. I'm not really worried about the back of it or anything. But, you know, there's our tag, and we're going to put that into our pocket. And by putting that ease in there that we put in earlier, that got us socket, it's actually going to allow us to have plenty of room to get the ribbon and everything in there with plenty of space in that pocket. And it just kind of fits in there nicely. And so the last thing we need to do is close this. To do that, I chose some very light baby pink ribbon, and we're going to take a considerable piece of that. Now, I may not use all of this, and that's okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to go right to the middle of the book or the back, whichever one you choose. I'll go to the back. We're just going to put that ribbon in, just like that. We're just going to bring it around. We're going to tie it right here in the middle. Just put a little double knot in here. Doesn't have to be tight. And then we're going to bring this over to the end. And anywhere along here, we could do it here in the middle. We could do it on the very edge, wherever we want to put it. We're just going to put in a little bow, just so it looks cute. And you can use any color that you want, any, you know, type that you want. This would look cute with a little piece of sari silk. I don't want a bow quite that big. Hold on. There we go. It's a little better. This side could be a little smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this at an angle. Cut this one at an angle. These little pieces I will put in my jar of laces and trims, which has gotten bigger, by the way. It's now one huge honking jar. And that's it. That's kind of the finished deal. We've got a little bit of ribbon here. When we go to bind this in, if we decide to eventually put this into a book, we just move this out of the way and be able to stitch this right into the book, no problem. And then we have this little, you know, little private inside pocket kind of thing that we can use for our things. So that's it. That's our whole little project for today. I know this was long. Thank you for staying with me. If you have not done so yet, do me the favor of kindly pressing the red button that says subscribe. And then once you do that, and we're friends, like me, ring my bell, share me with all your friends. Because today, we're making these little pocket pouch book things that go in other journals, who knows. So until the next time, guys, bye-bye.